welcome everyone. For those that are new here, I'm doing one of these. I've been doing one of these every week for the past 7 weeks now, I think. So over the past 7 weeks, every Tuesday at 11 local time, 11 a.m. in El Salvador, I've been hosting a spaces focused on different topics. So first week it was about all the banks and financial institutions here adopting Bitcoin. And, 7 weeks ago, basically, they had no idea what was going on, which was interesting. Then we had one with Mike was on there about Bitcoin Beach and the backstory there and the reception in El Salvador on the new law. Then we had one, then I did one on Bitcoin Smiles, the dentist that was raising funds to help locals in El Salvador with their dental care. They reached the goal, so that was great. We did one on companies opening offices, Bitcoin startups opening offices in El Salvador 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, sorry. And then last week we had more of the opposition to the Bitcoin law on the show, on the stream. So today is actually the big day. Today is legal tender day in El Salvador. So I invited Alex, who's been in El Salvador for the past week, and Mike Peterson, Mike Peterson and Chimber, who are involved with the Bitcoin Beach project in El Zante. And this week I want to have a little bit more of an open discussion. So we'll be inviting more people on stage faster compared to previous weeks. But Alex, I'd like to start with you. You were in El Salvador over the past week. Just tell us, what were your experiences here?
Sure. Thank you so much for bringing this group together. Look, I think for me, it was there's two stories here. There's the story of Zante and the grassroots education and community work going on there, which is really an inspiration. And then there's the story of the government, which kind of picked up on this vibe, maybe last year and decided to run with it a few months ago. And I think these are two very different stories. But in general, the reality is a handful of people in a town with no paved roads or traffic lights, where very few have bank accounts, are really ground zero for a financial revolution. It's an impossible story. It's like a Hollywood story. They ended up changing their community, bringing hope to a difficult place that went through a really tough decade. It wasn't just a few years ago that El Salvador was considered more dangerous than Iraq or Afghanistan. And yet, here we are with the whole world is watching this small country as it leapfrogs Germany and Japan and the United States and all these other industrial powers in bringing open source decentralized money to its population. There's more to say about the domestic scene, which makes it complicated because the government is becoming more authoritarian, clearly. And it's confusing because I come from a background of interviewing people inside dictatorships who are using Bitcoin to find some freedom among a very difficult situation. So you have a different situation happening there. But in general, I would say that, the possibilities are very, very powerful and the potential is huge. But I would say the educational hurdles are the biggest ones. Technologically speaking, just to set the room, about 66% of Salvadorans use social media, and the average person has 1.5 cell phones. So most people can use Bitcoin. The question is, how do they figure out what it is? Personally, living in America, it took me years to figure out what Bitcoin was. So, it requires a community educational effort, and we'll have to see how that goes. Obviously, it's been extraordinary in El Zante. And when you talk to people who are small business owners there who use Bitcoin, they will say at first it was intimidating and difficult, but after a few days, they learned how to use it, and now they're adept at it. The small business owners there and the vendors there, they know a lot more about Bitcoin than people in Silicon Valley, which again I think is quite extraordinary. So I guess I'll just leave it at that. But thank you, Aaron, for having me.
Yeah, you mentioned that it's almost like a Hollywood story. So I'd be curious to get that person. Let's hear that Hollywood story. Mike, you've been involved with this basically from the start. So how has this all been playing out from your perspective?
I think it's still, when I wake up in the morning, it's still hard to believe that it's real, that it's this small project that we started that was focused on just benefiting the day-to-day lives of people that are making $300 a month has now possibly started the ball rolling to transform the world's financial system. So it's one of those things that if you saw it in a movie, you would think like that's just so unbelievable. That would never happen in real life. And so the government's taking things for all the concerns about the government issues. I think the fact that the government has chosen to focus on the fact that this is bringing the unbanked into the system, and that was their motivating factor, and that's what they focused on first was the Bitcoin payment rails, I think is hugely bullish and is very exciting and makes me much more likely to give them the benefit of the doubt that this is going to be used to benefit the people.
Yeah, Chimbere, you're born and raised in El Zante, right? How have you seen El Zante? What have you seen happening in El Zante over the past couple of months? How's this been for you?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, El Sante has been changing a lot in the last few years, and everything is moving fast, And we all were dreaming, and I think our grandparents they dreaming that this will come one day, but they didn't know, and we didn't know when. And we are lucky we can see it now, and how might say before, like most of the people here in Sonte before Bitcoin, they were not allowed to be in the financial system that we have now. And what we start to see was like people saving money for the first time, small merchants transacting digitally for the first time, people buying like an asset for the first time, in their life. And I don't know if this is like the question. This is like for us is the best way that the country is moving, because if something prove that dream that for changing our community benefit like bitcoin bring like financial education to our community, that's for sure. And that's something that around the world no one teach you what money is and how start to saving. Like Jorge's here with me, and he used to say like kids never were able to have like a bank account until they have 18 years old, and now with bitcoin, with blockchain technology, they can start to saving money, and they don't need to be 18 years old for start to building their dreams. So El Sonte was a fisherman town, always had been that. And I think the future now for kids will be amazing, man. We have kids that are 19 years old now, and they know English class, they know computer class, they know about Bitcoin, they know about financial, and there are the new leaders that are educating the community. So I we're super exciting about it. Of course, we everyone want to know and want to understand the answer now, but it's something that the history will tell us if El Salvador took the right decision or not. We truly believe this is the right way, but we need to understand also if people are not like agree now, because we need to be empathy, because we all learning in different way. And like Alex say, it took some time to get it, but once you get it, you don't leave.
Have you been able to download the Chivo Wallet yet? Have you tried?
Not yet. I was trying to do it this morning. Last night it was not possible for me, and but I will try soon. Yes.
So in El Zonte, Bitcoin is obviously, like you just explained, it's it's changing the community. It's changing how people think about money and how they think about the future. To what extent do you guys think that is something that is now going to be exported to the rest of the country, and what are the challenges there? This is an open question to anyone on stage.
I think it's going to be a slow process. I think we have to understand that people are going to, like we saw here in El Zante, they'll start by holding a little bit of their money or their wealth in Bitcoin, and they'll watch the volatility. And as they become more and more comfortable with it, they'll move more into that. I mean, that's what we've seen in El Zante. I think that's what we've seen in the world. That's the journey that most Bitcoiners go down. So the fact that so many are being exposed through the project with the Chivo Wallet and are being given their first Bitcoin, I think I think we can't underestimate just the groundswell that that's going to create. Maybe not a month from now, but definitely a year from now, and for sure 10 years from now, like we'll see the country transformed because of that. And I'm already hearing rumors that there's several other Central American countries that are on the verge and are kind of waiting to see how this goes before they, kind of follow down that same path. And so, that may be in 6 months if everything goes well. That may be in 16 months if we hit some big, stumbles along the way. But I still feel it's inevitable.
Yeah, what do you think the stumbles could be, or what do you think the challenges are?
I think that obviously the rollout timeline was very rushed. There's a lot of concern about the Lightning implementation within the wallet, if it's how it's being set up and if it's going to be sustainable. There's concern about just the technology in general. Like, was that enough time to set things up in a safe and secure way? And will there be just a ton of downtimes? I mean, shoot, Coinbase, was down, I think, again today. They can't keep their stuff up. So I think it's, expected that a country that's trying to onboard everybody is going to have some stumbles along the way. But I think it's important to keep that in context. That doesn't mean that it's not working or that it's not going to work. That just means that there's high demand and that we're figuring out the bottlenecks as we go along.
Yeah, well, I can tell you this morning I stepped into a McDonald's and I asked if I could pay with Bitcoin, and to my complete shock, I actually could. I was totally not expecting that. Alex, we were literally discussing yesterday that that there was no way that McDonald's was gonna. I think I mentioned literally McDonald's as an example. We were discussing there's no way I'm gonna be able to pay McDonald's today, but lo and behold, I could just. It was smooth. I could pay with Lightning. And I had my breakfast at McDonald's this morning.
Yeah, what's really interesting is that it's not just the government, right? There's competition, right? So Strike is like onboarding businesses to be able to comply with the law and accept Bitcoin. And there's another company. So there's at least 3 entities currently competing down in El Salvador to provide businesses with the software to be able to accept Bitcoin. I think zooming out, like for the next few months, like it's unlikely, it seems, that like basically I think one of the things that's going to happen is that the government is going to be taking Bitcoin off the hands of people who aren't super excited about, who again don't know much about it and don't really want to hold it. At least at first, as Mike is saying, as they learn more and more about it, that they may be, they're going to want to get some. But at first, what you'll likely see is like people taking any Bitcoin they get from remittances, or if vendors are receiving it, they're probably gonna just convert it to dollars, either automatically using something like Chivo or Strike, or they'll do it manually. So I think this is why the government supposedly has this $150 million trust is to be able to buy the Bitcoin off people with dollars. I'm like a little confused as to why they're like beyond like reserves, like why they're stacking all this other Bitcoin. That doesn't seem to like that. You would only need that, right? If the citizens were trying to buy Bitcoin from you. So there's a little confusion around like that. And I think that's also a big grievance among the people is like, there's been very little education. Like people don't know what's going on. Like the app launched on the Huawei store this morning. It just launched on the Apple store like 20 minutes ago, but like none of this was planned. Like there was no announcements. People feel very in the dark. And this is a country where if you put Bukele aside for the second, the last 3 presidents all looted the country. So like the people are afraid that this is going to be used to steal from them, which is a completely valid fear. So I think that's it. Just these are important things to keep in mind.
Yeah, we were both there were protests in San Salvador last week, What were your impressions of these protests?
I mean, again, people have bad memories of the dollarization, which was imposed top down on them 20 years ago, which was great for the banks and the elites, but was not very good for the poor. There was not like a devaluation, but essentially people went from like using colones like to using the dollar at a particular exchange rate of 8.75 per dollar, which resulted in like a lot of rounding up. So like you could imagine if something was like 8 colones, okay, it would now be a dollar. Okay, so there was like a lot of price inflation. People had a hard time with it. Even 5 years later, people were having a hard time with it. So now you have the government saying, "Oh, we're going to change the money again." Okay, so yeah, people are, and no one knows what Bitcoin is. Like, if I were to walk around California today and interview 100 people, I mean, very few people know what Bitcoin is, right? So people are like, afraid from that perspective. And I think just the biggest takeaway from the protest was how little people know about Bitcoin. Like this one person I interviewed thought that and this is a common belief actually in New York City as well, but like they thought you had to have $50,000 to buy a Bitcoin. And these are just common adoption challenges you're going to face. This person, she had an iPhone in her pocket, and she was telling me she didn't know if she'd be able to get Bitcoin or what. Like people just don't realize like how you would connect to Bitcoin, how to use it, what it is. So there's just going to be a huge educational need over the coming weeks and months and years.
Yeah, Mike Chimbera, what has been the sentiment in the country? You would say also like the news coverage, the media. How have they been handling the Bitcoin law and the rollout of it?
Just to piggyback on a couple things Alex was saying. At first, I think it's important to realize that most of the media has been against the president from the get-go. He, during the election, he bypassed the traditional media. He used Facebook and Twitter and TikTok to go directly to the people. And so there's always been an uneasy relationship between the mainstream press here and the president. And so I think you have to take everything you see with a grain of salt, considering that. But getting back to Alex's point about the dollarization, one thing that happened during that process was the government kept telling the people that don't worry, you'll be able to continue to use colones. We're not getting rid of them. We're just going to have this kind of dual financial system, so you'll be able to use both. But the reality is over a pretty quick period of time, I believe it was just a few months, they basically took all the colones out of circulation in El Salvador. And so there's a real fear and understandable just based on their experience that the government's going to do the same thing, that in 3 months you won't be able to do anything in dollars and there will only be Bitcoin available. Now, obviously, as Bitcoiners, we understand that's not going to happen. It just wouldn't be practical, for such a new currency that with so much volatility for the country to only use it at this, period of time. And also, there is a free market for Bitcoin to dollar exchange. So it's not like the colones where it was like pegged by the government. There's real big differences on the practical level, but from their point of view, this is like deja vu of what they've already gone through. And so I think as time goes on and they realize that the dollar is still going to be the primary, or the primary currency that most transactions take place in, I think a lot of their fears will go away.
Yeah, Chimbera, do you have any insight there or any thoughts of what has been sort of the reception in the rest of the country about the law?
Yeah, so as a Bitcoin Beach, we have been like running this program for education program in the last months, more or less. And what we find in the communities is like we need to specificator when we get there, and say like, we're not the government, we're not the mayor, we just want to help and we want to explain you what Bitcoin is. So people are more willing to open, and remain in the class, if we can call like a class, and understand. The another issues is the connectivity in these classes that we were running. We prepare for give Wi-Fi to the people, because many of the people that come to listen and maybe they want to download the wallet, but they don't have internet. some other people, they don't have like a good cell phone that can support like any wallet, and they are there, and of course they're gonna be worried, because they say, how can I use it? My phone doesn't work. I don't have internet, and those are like real things that happening and are happening here. So, but when you sit with them and they realize that it's not that hard. Most of the people thinking, like Alex was saying, that for transacting with Bitcoin you have to be like super smart or you have to be rich. And once they got some sat on their wallet and they can start to making their first transacting, any doobie, any fear disappear, and they like, wow, that's it. Well, that's it. So I will say like the biggest challenge is education, and it's gonna take time. It's gonna take what it is, and we all need to put something on this.
All right, Bitcoiners, I want to tell you about our newest sponsor. This show is brought to you by Ledin.io. I have been super, super impressed with the guys over at Ledin. I've actually known the co-founders, Adam and Mauricio, for a very long time. I've had the pleasure to watch them build Ledin up from a tiny, tiny startup to now a super impressive institutional grade Bitcoin and crypto lender. Y'all, I'm so impressed with these guys. They are offering some of the best rates out there. I don't think anyone even comes close to touching them. You can get 6.1% APY on your first 2 Bitcoin that you deposit into Ledin interest accounts, and you can get 8.5% US on USDC deposits. I mean, I know all the competitors. They're not even close. If you're going to put your crypto and your Bitcoin into an interest account, Ledin is by far the best. And on top of that, like I said, these guys are hardcore Bitcoiners and they know the products and the services that Bitcoiners want and appreciate. They come up with B2X. It allows you to put your Bitcoin in, they leverage it up, and you can, with one click of the mouse, get twice the exposure to Bitcoin. So if you're super bullish, Ledin has you covered with a super, super easy way to get leverage with B2X. And then on top of that, they know that Bitcoiners care about your reserves. They know that Bitcoiners don't like under reserved and not full reserved financial institutions. So they are pushing the frontier in transparency in the digital asset lending space. And they are the first digital asset lender to do a full proof of reserves and proof of attestation through a Mariano LLC, a public accounting firm. So the Ledin guys, they know what Bitcoiners like. They are legit. I encourage you guys to check them out. Do your own research and go to Ledin.io. That is LEDN.io and learn more. Bitcoiners, I want to tell you about The Deep Dive. The Deep Dive is Bitcoin Magazine's premium market intelligence newsletter. This is a no fluff, hard-hitting, incredible newsletter going deep into the market, helping you understand what's happening with derivatives, what's happening on-chain, what's happening in macro, what's happening with the narrative, and what's happening with the tech. My man, Dylan LeClaire, is an absolute savant. He is making his name known in the Bitcoin community, getting shout-outs left and right, getting on podcasts left and right, and him and his team are bringing you everything that you need to know about Bitcoin. You don't even have to be on Bitcoin Twitter. You can ignore every other newsletter. This is the newsletter to rule them all. Go over to members.bitcoinmagazine.com, sign up today, and if you use promo code MACRO, you get a full month for free. You have nothing to lose. What are you waiting for? Sign up, see the incredible work that Dylan and his team are putting out. And if you don't like it, just unsubscribe. You don't pay a dime. But if you do, it's going to be well worth the sats in investment in understanding Bitcoin and gaining the confidence to continue to invest in Bitcoin and making the right moves around Bitcoin. And it's going to be well worth every single Satoshi. Again, can't recommend it enough. That is members.bitcoinmagazine.com, promo code MACRO. Do it today.
I'd like to start opening the discussion up more to listeners in the audience. One listener I see is Carlinho. I wonder if he wants to join, because as far as I understand, he's been hard at work to make some of this happen. Carlinho, if you want to share your story, please request to be a listener. The same goes for anyone else. If anyone has any questions or comments or wants to share an experience, maybe if they're in El Salvador themselves.
Yeah, I'd just like to, while we wait. Sorry.
Yeah, Rui, go for it. No, I think you have something very interesting to say since OpenNode is a big part of this.
Yeah, thank you, CK. Yeah, I just wanted to jump in and say the timeline on the enterprise side, on the business side, was definitely really tight. I think we had 7 months over the summer 7 weeks over the summer to figure this all out. And yeah, we're just super happy to be able to power all of these businesses. McDonald's was really obviously the star. It doesn't get much bigger in terms of retail brands than McDonald's, but we have a bunch more in the pipeline. We we have other things outside of El Salvador, but I'm obviously super honored and thrilled because we've been working on this vision that Lightning payments would be the future of payments when the Lightning Network had like 5 BTC in it, and the BTC was worth a lot less more than it is today. So yeah, we're just thrilled, and it's been difficult. Education at an enterprise level is very hard because they're trying to equate Bitcoin payments to regular payments. They're trying to run a bunch of, they don't know what's going on, and they were forced to accept Bitcoin pretty much overnight. And we're just happy to be able to educate enterprises on why Bitcoin only, how does everything work, how can you go to market in such a quick, timeline. And yeah, we have a bunch of things coming up. We're moving to start our own Bitcoin only lobby group. So that's something that we're looking to start with our partners at Fidelity, and we're just excited to make this vision come true. I feel like El Salvador is just step one, but we're excited to be on the field and helping people accept the payment. So yeah, I'm just happy to be part of this historic day.
So, Rui, you were actually in El Salvador talking with these businesses and helping them on board on the ground, or?
Most of those businesses, or not most, but a lot of these businesses we're talking with, they're not based in El Salvador. They have bases elsewhere in Latin America. So one of our team members is in El Salvador right now, João is, but we haven't been doing this in person. It's mostly figuring out things at an enterprise level from where we stand, right? Because we're just helping businesses accept Bitcoin, not really the payers and everything. But so the answer, I think, would be no.
And so McDonald's, to take that example, they're accepting Bitcoin payments, obviously. Are they keeping the money in Bitcoin, or how does this work behind the screens?
I'm pretty sure that McDonald's is converting to USD at this moment, but we do offer the possibility for them to either keep a percent of it in Bitcoin or just go all out and keep the Bitcoin. But I think since the rollout was so quick, we weren't really expecting them to be fully on board with this whole Bitcoin thing. I think what we'll see is, as time goes on, they will be more open to keeping some of that Bitcoin. But for now, they really just wanted to get a solution ready on day one. And Aaron was saying that he was surprised that McDonald's was accepting Bitcoin. We were working day one, and we were working with them, and we were also surprised to see it just day one live. But yeah, I'm glad we made that happen.
Cool. Yeah.
I think that's so cool that they're able to do that using the tools that you built out. I'm curious, what are the largest challenges for enterprise businesses in adopting Bitcoin in this way?
I think the largest challenge by far is that they don't understand Bitcoin. They don't understand like the logistics behind a Bitcoin payment. It's so different than a regular payment, not just because it's a different currency, but even the fact that it's a push system, not a pull system. The fact that on-chain, there's all of these issues like underpayments, overpayments, so many things. The time that it takes for one confirmation to happen, the variability of block time. It's very, very hard, very challenging to explain this to, an enterprise. So that's the main challenge. I'm very happy that El Salvador is pushing Lightning so hard because Lightning really does solve for all of these things that I just mentioned, and it really makes Bitcoin payments on par with regular payments in terms of UX, because you just scan a QR code and instantly that's it. There's no nuance. There's no, the payment's just done. So uh, the fact that El Salvador pushed Lightning so hard really made our lives a whole lot easier. And then outside of that, uh, it's more, just understanding Bitcoin as an enterprise, like how this regulation apply to this. Is this, is there's a legit asset? Some of these enterprises ask us. So yeah, you have to take it from a perspective that this is a board, a group of people that probably never heard of Bitcoin payments before. Maybe they've heard of the asset, but most of them didn't even know you could use this to accept like everyday payments for an hamburger. So yeah, those are the two biggest challenges, I would say.
Yeah, one of the reasons I was so shocked is I mentioned this at the start of this stream, that it was just 6 weeks ago that myself and a couple of other Bitcoiners, Carlinho was one of them, Moritz, who I saw in the audience, uh, we were visiting these financial institutions, and just 6 weeks ago, it seemed like no one had any idea what was going on. So to see it actually work today was shocking. We have some more people on stage. Let's see. Who do we have? Manuel, what's up?
I'm just a Venezuelan kid, man, that I believe in Bitcoin, I believe in cryptocurrency, I believe in the decentralized banks, and I'm trying to move to El Salvador. What can you tell me about that?
Moving to El Salvador. Questions about moving to El Salvador. Is that it?
Yeah.
I think Chimbera might be able to answer that, because we've been discussing that before.
Bring your surfboard. This is what you need. No, I don't know. We don't know yet how the regulation will be, but we have been hearing from the president that if you spend like the equivalent of 3 Bitcoin, you will get instance permanent resident. And so yeah, many people are looking for that. Maybe Mike wanna like be more have like a better explanation about that.
Yeah, Mike
Yeah,
did in fact move to El Salvador, so let's hear from Mike.
yeah, I think there's been a lot of talk about the permanent residency. That's obviously not the only way to get residency in El Salvador, and obviously there's lots of people who don't have 3 Bitcoin to be able to invest, but there are other options. Most people will come in as a tourist, and they'll get a 90-day tourist visa, and then they'll start the residency process, through starting up a business or finding work here. So there's different routes, and it obviously depends on what country you're coming from. I think the government is being deluged right now with requests, with people wanting to come make this like a second home or to move here permanently. And so I wouldn't be surprised if we see more legislation on that come out shortly. Obviously, they're moving so fast in all these different areas. There's only so many things they can focus on at once, and so I don't know what the timeline for that's going to be, but I would assume that 5 years from now there would be a pretty significant expat population here in El Salvador, and I think it'll be important for the government to think through doing that in a way that makes sure that the Salvadorans benefit from that and perceive that jobs and opportunities are coming in with that inflow of expats, and not that people are coming in and taking Salvadoran jobs. And so it can be that way a lot of times when there's an inflow of foreigners in a place. There can be that perception, and so I think that's going to be very important, and I think that will be the reality.
Um, I know the main language of El Salvador is Spanish, but is there any improvement of the English being as the second language?
There's actually a decent amount of English spoken in El Salvador. A lot of people from El Salvador have spent time in the U.S. There's a lot of deportees that spent maybe a decade there, and so there's a lot of English call centers in El Salvador. It's actually a pretty high prevalence of high level of English, and so I think that will be an asset as more Bitcoin companies look to set up here. A lot of them will want English speakers, and so I think those people will have, better chance at some of those jobs. But I also think that Bitcoin is going to become more of a Latin America thing than even a US thing. I think there's going to be a lot of countries in Latin America that follow El Salvador's example, and I think Latin America will be a leader in this space. And so I think there'll be more and more Bitcoin things happening in Spanish initially and being translated to English.
Yeah, so CK, if you can let Carlinho on stage, then that would be great. I'm not able to. I guess it's probably some.
I've done everything I can. I invited him. I don't know what the deal is.
Oh yeah, just Bitcoin. What was it called? Spaces.
Just Twitter
issues. Twitter Spaces issues. There you go.
Carlino, maybe try quitting the app and rejoining. We really want to get you on stage, so we'll do our best.
¿Cómo están?
Bien, bien. So, been working around. You haven't slept for the past week, or?
So actually, that's why I suggested that you make Juan Pablo the speaker. I'm actually on vacation on my honeymoon. So Juan Pablo is really the one to talk about. He's the one that hasn't been sleeping. So he should be able to share some really interesting details about how things have been going on over there and the craziness of, breaking a world record of Bitcoin implementation. I don't think if any other country follows Salvador's lead, I don't think anyone's going to be able to pull it off as quickly as El Salvador has.
Okay, Juan Pablo, is that his name?
Yeah.
Carlinho, go to spend time with your beautiful wife. And congratulations.
Double congrats on the rollout, the IBEX rollout, as well as getting married.
Definitely. But go spend time with your wife.
I think we should note that the $30 subsidy, or I guess stimulus check, like we could say, is not actually spendable. It seems, right? So it's like only lives in the Chivo ecosystem. You can't like withdraw it. It seems. I'm not sure if anyone else has been able to do that. But
oh, really? That's like interesting. So can you can probably at least spend it at Chivo merchants, right? Or does anyone have any insights on this?
Hi guys, I'm Juan from UX. Nice to meet you all. Gracias, Carlinho. I've actually contacted someone that knows about the Chivo app, and supposedly once you do one transaction with the $30 inside the Chivo ecosystem, then you can spend it any place.
So it's like
but
one hop.
I haven't tried it out myself, but that's the information that was sent to us.
So it's like a walled garden for one hop, and then you can extract it to a regular Bitcoin wallet?
That's what I was told, yes, but I haven't been able to check it out.
Listen to this. The founder of BitRefill said that he has, because people didn't realize this, I guess, or again, problem with the education. But he has 8,000 invoices that weren't able to be paid because people tried to buy stuff on BitRefill with their Chivo. But obviously, put the administrative issue aside for a second. That's pretty amazing demand for BitRefill in just an hour. I don't know. That seems crazy.
Yeah, that's incredible.
8,000 in 1 hour.
A country is coming online.
Yeah, I mean, that means there's 8,000 Chivo users that know what BitRefill is. Like that's
so cool.
Interesting.
I've used BitRefill myself to top up my balance. Yeah, east side. What's up?
What's up, everybody? Saludos, primos y primas por ahí. That goes part of with my question. What's stopping anybody from out of country to open a VPN and then get Chivo and get Bitcoin?
So from what I understand, you do need like a citizen ID in order to maybe you can install it, but at least to get the $30, you would need like the citizen ID number or whatever that is exactly.
I think right now you have to have a DUI, which is the Salvadoran ID, to even download and install the app.
That makes sense. Been told. That makes sense. So I got another question too. What do you think stopping McDonald's from accepting payments here in the United States? Capital gains stuff?
Oh, well, does anyone want to answer that?
Well, the fact that Bitcoin's not legal tender in the United States probably presents major challenges.
We've run across this issue as well. And if you read through the norms that were published by the Salvadoran Central Bank, it wrestles with this issue. And there is a big gap in understanding of Bitcoin as an asset. And that's how it's been treated so far, as an investment asset in the first world country economies. And when you use Bitcoin as a legal tender, what you're actually doing is you're using the Bitcoin network and the payment rail side of the technology, and what should I call it? The mental framework that is best to use with this is that of transacting with cash. It's a better analogy, even though it's completely digital and it does not exist in a physical form. Because of the properties of peer-to-peer and instant settlement, it's better to think of it as cash. And there's a big gap in understanding. And this is a huge barrier to the usability of Bitcoin, not being able to segregate Bitcoin as this asset that's been growing in value for the last 10 years, and Bitcoin as a payments rail that can be used as, and can be, even the accounting can be then transferred over to another currency, as is the case in El Salvador, where all the accounting rules still apply in dollars, but you can use Bitcoin as a seamless payment rail that operates a lot like cash. And we've been trying to talk to people about this issue, and we've also trying to talk with other Bitcoiners to be able to formulate the argument in a more convincing and eloquent way. So if you've got any feedback on that front, much appreciated.
I just want to jump in and say that Juan and I just dropped a podcast on Bitcoin Magazine podcast talking about what's happening in El Salvador with this rollout from a business perspective. So go check that out at Bitcoin Magazine podcast.
Bitcoiners, let's take a break from the content, and I want to tell you about Coolbix. Coolbix is an awesome Bitcoin hardware wallet that's been around for a really long time. They are building an amazing Bitcoin wallet called the Cool Wallet Pro. The Cool Wallet Pro is state-of-the-art Bitcoin hardware wallet technology. Its form factor is like a credit card. You can put it into your wallet, and it is designed to go with you on the go. So that way, even when you're on the go, you can have the benefit of a two-factor hardware wallet design when you're trying to spend your Bitcoin. So you can have your Bitcoin wallet UX on your phone and make it really easy to scan, decide what you want to do, but then you sign with a CoolBitX, which is in your back pocket. It is tamper-proof, it is waterproof, it is flexible, it has an awesome secure element in it. And it is a really awesome way in order to have some more flexibility, yet security when you're taking your Bitcoin on the go. I personally am a fan of, this idea of making Bitcoin into a medium of exchange and making it into something that people use. I know it's going to take time, but they are working on the UX for making that possible in as secure a way possible. So have some peace of mind. Check out the Cool Wallet Pro from Coolbix. And yeah, thank you to them for sponsoring this podcast. Bitcoiners, I want to tell you about the Texas Blockchain Summit put on by the Texas Blockchain Council. This conference is all about Bitcoin, and man, their lineup is absolutely spectacular. Cynthia Lummis, Hester Pierce, Warren Davidson, Nick Bhatia, Alex Gladstein, Will Cole. That's just the tip of the spear. There are so many big names going to be a part of this event. The Texas Blockchain Council is doing an absolute incredible job, and they are 100% focused on Bitcoin and self-sovereignty that comes from adopting Bitcoin. The most sovereign place in America is Texas. Austin is the capital. October 8th is the place. Go to the Texas Blockchain Summit. You can save a beautiful 25% if you use code BTC in all caps. That is the special code for the Bitcoin Magazine audience. Use code BTC, save 25% off your ticket. Don't miss it. This is going to be absolutely sick. Peace.
As we let people on stage to ask questions, you got one question, guys, and then I'm taking you off stage. We got like 20 requests. So you got one shot. Please, come prepared when you're on stage, and then after that, I'll be taking you off, so don't be offended.
Guys, I gotta leave, but I thank you, Aaron, for inviting us. We need to go and buy some stuff for later today, and yeah, we will celebrate.
Yes, Chimera, what is happening later today? Maybe close off with that. Is there something gonna happen in El Zante?
Yeah, you want to say it, Mike?
Sure, we're doing a kind of celebratory distribution of Bitcoin to all the families in El Zante. So we're giving all the families $50 in Bitcoin to be able to, go and spend in town and support the stores that are accepting it there. So we're anticipating distributing half a Bitcoin today.
Yeah, and I think like much of the people from Santa, they don't realize that the real heroes here is the community, and that's it's gonna be a surprise. Everyone was like yesterday when they knew it. Everyone is exciting, so we're waiting that the full all community will be here, and it's gonna be a big day for Sante. So we will send some picture from many happy families and celebrate with them. This is like a big day that many of you and us and all people around the world we were dreaming that will come one day, and this is the day. So enjoy it, guys. Celebrate it how you want, and yeah, we're waiting for everyone here in Bitcoin Beach.
Yeah, like Timbero was saying, there's the fact that there's this small village that has literally like upended the world's financial system, and so we want them to be able to celebrate in that and the impact that they're having on the world.
Right. Thanks a lot, Chibera, and enjoy this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye, guys.
All right. See ya.
Adios.
Ken. We've got Ken on stage. What's up?
Hey guys, how you doing? Hello,
All
can you
good.
hear me?
What's up? Yep.
Okay, guys, I'm not sure if you already saw how the Chivo Wallet looks like. Have you seen that already?
I have not. Well, I mean, I've seen some screenshots, I think, but I've not been able to try it or anything like that.
I just upload a video from my own Chivo Wallet, just in the case you want to see it.
Sure. If you tweet it.
So, Ken, tell us a little bit more about yourself as well. But yeah, if you tweet it out, we can pin it to the top of this chat.
Yeah, of course. Well,
are
actually,
you a Salvadorian?
yes, I'm from El Salvador. I've been living here all my life. Regarding about the question that you had before, if we speak English, well, pretty much there is a lot of people here that speak English as well. A lot of people working, most of them in the call center industry. There's a lot of people that came from the state that live there for a long. And also the people in the university is like is required for them to speak English at the end of the career. So yeah, pretty much English for us is going to be like the second language.
That's very interesting for people who are trying to move to El Salvador for Bitcoin purposes. Definitely removes friction. Aaron, I guess on you, traveling and living in El Salvador for some time, and I'm sure you have kind of limited Spanish. What was your experience like?
Yeah, I mean, definitely not everyone speaks English, that's for sure, but enough people speak English to get around and to, learn about the country and learn about how people think about Bitcoin, even though, it might be hit and miss depending on who you meet. But I think there's enough English to get around, I would say. Alex, was it also your experience? Or do you speak flawless Spanish? I don't even know. I don't think so, right?
No, definitely not. No, I had a friend traveling with me from Costa Rica. I would say that not a lot of people spoke English, especially outside the city.
So, Ken, what's your experience with the Chivo Wallet? I posted your video up top. I'll tell everyone I have not vetted it, so be careful. But Ken, walk us through your experience with the wallet. Maybe you can give us some insight, since it seems like you're the only person on stage who's actually used it.
Okay, well, actually, I've been awake almost all night waiting for the launch for the Chivo Wallet. It was like around 4 a.m. when I went to sleep. I sleep like at 3 hours. At the beginning, yes, of course, as always with new apps and all of that, there was some delays. Supposed to be supposed to be launched at midnight, but there's some issues with the Google app and the Apple Store. I'm not sure if they already released it in those platforms. But the first one who sent it over, launched it, is the Huawei app, the Huawei store. And because I have a Huawei smartphone, I start downloaded the Chivo app. So at the beginning, yes, there was a little bit of glitches. Trying to configure the Chivo wallet. I did send some image and some information to the developers in the Chivo wallet. I sent it over tweet and a lot of pictures. Uh, when I wake up around 7 in the morning today, I saw the message saying that they already made they made the amendments in the software. They actually. Nayib Bukele sent a message saying that they have to turn it off for a while because they have to migrate the servers into more powerful ones. So that error was been fixed. And actually, I did try it again around 7 in the morning, and actually it worked. It was simple, very easy. I did the same for the smartphone of my wife's smartphone, and it's easier, super easier.
Yeah, there were some hiccups, but is it available in all app stores now, as far as we know? You mentioned Hawaii, and
I heard
there's
iOS
the
was
Apple
available
Store, of course.
now.
iOS, Android.
I
Do
have
we
not
know?
heard anything about Android / the Google App Store yet.
Right. All right. We have some more people on stage. Who haven't we heard from? Tejas.
Hey, good afternoon, guys, from Dallas, Texas. I'm super excited about El Salvador releasing Bitcoin out as their legal tender. Question for you guys: does anybody know if El Salvador has any incentives for setting up mining, Bitcoin mining out in El Salvador? Do they have extensive energy needs? Just kind of just a off the bat question here. Maybe there's someone out on this show, this podcast that could talk about that. So thank you.
Yeah, so Bukele, the president, did mention the volcano mining, of course, which has become a viral meme. So they have the geothermal energy operations. I have not personally heard of any actual mining going on yet. So I think that's a work in process, unless maybe Mike, have you heard anything about this? Do you know more about this? Is this an actual thing, or what would you think the timeline for something like this is?
Yeah, I don't think that there's any actual timeline for it now. I think it's more in the idea stage. I mean, the government definitely would get behind it, is planning to get behind it, and I think they would incentivize it in any way possible if people had ideas to bring to them. I do know that there is thermal energy from the volcanoes, that it's available. I don't know what the cost is to produce that. I know for me personally, where I live here in El Zante, my electricity cost is extremely high. And with the warm climate, it definitely doesn't seem like a great environment for mining Bitcoin. But if they were doing it on top of the volcanoes where they're up high and the weather's cooler, and if the energy price really was that low, then definitely it could work.
I'm not an expert, but just hearing from several other conversations, especially from a lot of the Bitcoin critics in the country, that El Salvador, doesn't even make it all of its own energy, and it buys a lot of it from Guatemala. So, obviously Bitcoin enthusiasts think that Bitcoin can fix that and give an incentive for countries and communities to build out their own energy infrastructure. But, if they're currently not making, an abundance of energy, it's probably not ideal for mining. I'm curious what Juan has to say, seeing as that, he's very familiar with both Guatemala and El Salvador, and Juan is mining himself.
Yes, the problem with energy generation is not only the generation of the energy, but getting it to the places where it's most needed. And there's where you can bridge the gap with some Bitcoin mining operations, because you can, some of the energy that can be produced, it's not economically feasible to put it in the places where people live, and that's one of the hurdles that you can overcome. and energy you can exploit with Bitcoin mining. And it would be depend on a case by case basis evaluating this. In the case of Guatemala, it's very different because there was an excess of energy installations built up, and there was a very cutthroat. This is all directed by the government, so it's kind of a mess. There's no free market for selling energy. The government hands out contracts, and there was a very cutthroat negotiation phase with this contract, and that's how a lot of people, a lot of companies in Guatemala ended up either without a contract to sell the energy locally, and they just shut down, or exporting some of the energy to Mexico and to El Salvador, to the neighboring countries, because it's produced cheaply here, and some of the energy that is sent to El Salvador is produced near the border. So geographically, it's closer by than the volcano energy could potentially be. And those are two of the factors that are gonna have to be overcome in order to make Bitcoin mining feasible in the area. Apparently, if you can set up your operation right next to the energy source, that's the best way to do it. And some have theorized that this will bring the population closer to the energy source. Then the energy comes first, the energy generation comes first, and then the communities come after.
So, thank you very much, guys. So I'm in the oil patch here in Texas. So, what I've been seeing, just my personal observations, is you're seeing there's a lot of oil and gas conferences out in Houston. Although I live in Dallas, I commute back and forth, and you're seeing a lot of miners, come to these conferences seeking to find wells that have stranded gas in them. So it's interesting to see this holy alliance between the Bitcoin community, the crypto community as a whole, and oil and gas. So I'm all for it, guys, and any way I can help out and spread the good word, I'm here. So thank you, guys, appreciate it.
Hey, can I just add to that? Hey, I'm Miguel. I'm from El Salvador, and I'm an engineer. About something good about the energy in El Salvador, though, is that a lot of the energy is renewable energy, because we use this river, El Río Lempa. Most of the energy is generated via, with the river, and we are, well, not too long ago, the government also had this aeolic park and this also solar park, in which they're producing more energy. And to my understanding, they were also, with the volcano mining, what they were doing is that they were partnered up with an energy company here called Lajeo, which uses also the heat from the planet, to actually produce energy here. So I think that maybe, even though sometimes we might need to buy the energy, from other countries, the good part about it is that at least the energy that we produce is somehow like clean, which it's one of the main concerns about mining cryptocurrency, right? So I guess that is, I mean, in the future we could use that in our advantage, so that El Salvador could be profitable mining. And also, well, myself, I have a solar panel in my home, so I'm also doing mining. I do it on and off, but my electric bill is about $90, and I've been mining since they announced the law. So it's been 2 months pretty much, and I've mined about $60, and it's $90 for my electricity, but that's everything, right? My refrigerator, my I don't know, everything, right? So I think that it might be profitable here, even if the energy is not, even if we might have to take energy from other countries, it might still be somehow profitable.
But I think the key is if they're using that stranded energy that can be harvested, from the volcano locations that can't be utilized by communities right now. there definitely is potential with that, but I don't know how far along they've gotten to doing any serious studies or if there's any big investments looking to come in quite yet.
Yep. CK, how are we looking for time? Are we going on or?
So, I mean, we can cut it off at any point. I have a hard stop in 15 minutes, personally. So, yeah, I'll kind of leave it up to you. It seems like we have more people on stage. Miguel, thank you for the insights. We have Marvin, who's been on stage and waiting. Marvin, what's up, man? I like your volcano laser eyes in your background.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, great, great. Well, I'm part of the over 3 million Salvadorans that live abroad and have followed this very closely. In fact, many of us have followed Bukele's journey from when he was a mayor in the city of San Salvador. So we stay informed very much. And I did get a ID back in 2007 on a trip to El Salvador, and it's expired in 2012. But I was able to download from my iPhone 12 the Chivo Wallet, and I got $30, which I mean in sats, of course, but I went ahead and sent that money back to El Salvador so that it is spent locally. I noticed that there is a community, both are working together here, and it's not necessarily an organized. It's just random people communicating with people in El Salvador via Twitter and promoting the use of Bitcoin and promoting those businesses that are accepting Bitcoin. And because I think that by nature we seem to be entrepreneurial, we have an entrepreneurial spirit. You see them, many of them starting to post signs saying, I accept Bitcoin, we accept Bitcoin. So I think this is starting to get a movement going where more businesses are going to want to be a part of it and take part of that money that is being sent to all the citizens, all Salvadorans everywhere, in El Salvador and abroad.
Yeah, one of the things I heard is that dollarization went so fast in part due to remittance as well. So because of all the dollars coming into the country as remittance, that's how it really sort of picked up, and that's how the dollar started to outcirculate, if that's a word, to outcirculate, outperform the local currency. So it will be interesting to see if something like that will happen with Bitcoin or could happen with Bitcoin.
If I may add something, and this news might get you guys excited. We onboarded a couple of merchants that will be taking the full payment in Bitcoin. They will be keeping it in Bitcoin. And that's where the tools that people like the guys at OpenNode and we are building as well, that will help them keep their accounting and be able to integrate it into their businesses, integrate Bitcoin into businesses, and also keep the Bitcoin instead of switching back to dollars. And there's very little interest in doing that right now, but we got the first people that are being adventurous and will be doing it. And we expect this to gain more adoption and more people to keep more of the Bitcoin they take in and keep it in Bitcoin.
Right. And I think that many of us abroad, many even in El Salvador, realize that the media, it's really not, there's a certain sector of media that will always oppose anything the president does. But I think that even here, I read the comments on YouTube, on Twitter, and even if there is misinformation or FUD on the Spanish newspaper media, all the comments are in favor of it. All the comments realize that the media is not entirely honest and that there's an agenda. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to the mainstream media in El Salvador because it traditionally has been against Bukele, because traditionally it's been against other interests that have not benefit the population at large.
How would you characterize any of the El Salvadorians or people exposed Bukele's current popularity through this? I know that Bukele generally is very popular from a populist perspective, and the Bitcoin law, generally speaking, is very unpopular. I'm just kind of curious, like, what the current state is for Bukele in general.
My impression is that it's still very high, very positive. A lot of, and there's another part of the of Salvadorans have been burned many times. Like somebody said, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. But not from Bukele. I think there's still great expectation and great hope for Bukele. He's accomplished already many things, has kept us safe from his his decisions, his actions kept the population safe from COVID, and which has allowed. In fact, if you watch the recent U.S. And El Salvador game, it was packed, and any of them are vaccinated. Many of them are. I'm not trying to push any decision here for vaccination or not, but what I'm saying is that people feel safe enough to go out there and be together and sing in a very nationalistic way, very proud way, the national anthem, something that I think may have been lost in 5, 7, 6, 7 years ago. In the past, to be honest with you, many of us had thought that El Salvador had no that it had no solution. We years and years and decades of corruption and crime. We almost thought it was a failed state. Many of us abroad, and that's why since 2008 I have not gone back, and I'm looking forward to going back now. Many of us are looking forward to buying property there, maybe retiring at a certain when it's time to do so. Something that many of us feared before. I feared taking my kids. It may have been also the media spread, but with Bukele, all of that has changed. There's a great hope that I think is now is very general. But of course, there's some people that feel that they've been burned in the past, and they're keeping an open mind to it. And then there's those that have not benefited with his decisions, because those decisions have benefited the greater masses, the 97%. That's why we always say that 97% are in favor, because they benefit from the decisions that the president has taken. And in fact, it's what I consider to be a true democracy. 97% are happy with the way the government is. At least that's a number that we've used. And then there's people in the towns that they may have their own opinion, but these are people that have been polled. It's always been very high. And then one other thing I want to say about the Bitcoin is that the people that are opposed to it, they use any strategy they can. In fact, if you see an illustration of a Bitcoin in the form of a 3D coin, you might see the purity level 999. So there's even people out there trying to say that that's the number of the beast. If you turn it around, it's 666. So they'll go to any extent to try to, discredit Bitcoin and appeal to the ignorance to some of the people that are very religious and thinking that this is actually a biblical thing. And that's the people. If you see very humble people out there that you wouldn't think they would understand what Bitcoin is, many of them may oppose it because they think they're from a religious aspect.
Well, I have like a different kind of view, because I do believe that the introduction of Bitcoin has somehow reduced the popularity of the president, because that people that you're speaking, that in a way they're ignorant, right? Because they don't know how the system, or crypto works, or the system, financial system in general, they don't know. So they're afraid because of all the things that they're saying about Bitcoin. And there has been protests that are against it. So I think that it has definitely take some of the popularity from the president, even though, well, at least in my case, I am not 100% a supporter of the president. I didn't even vote. And, with this re-election thing, I think it's kind of dangerous. But at the same time, the good thing about Bitcoin or crypto in general is that it does not belong to anyone, right? There is Bitcoin without the Chivo app. There is Bitcoin everywhere. And even those people that may fear this technology now because they don't understand it and because no one has told them how to use them or the benefits of it, they might get on board with it, even though they're anti-Bukele, because you can use Bitcoin regardless of the government, regardless of who's running things, regardless of the Chivo wallet or not. And that's kind of the point of Bitcoin, right? That everybody can use it, that there is no government behind it. So while I think that it has reduced the popularity of the president in the long term, I don't think that really matters because, I am not a supporter of the president, even though I'm super bullish about Bitcoin, right? I mean, its benefits. I started mining and trading. In fact, yesterday I went on leverage, and I guess the point that I'm trying to make is
That
that
was a
this
mistake.
movement has to be more than the president or more than the government, right? It's not just about nuevas ideas and Bukele. It's about a world where we have an inclusive global financial system for everybody, and I think that's the good part about it. Even though it might be through the president and the government that we have now, but in the long term, that doesn't matter.
Right, right. I think that the a dip in the popularity is probably more on the local level than those of us who are abroad, who have missed traveling and to our countries and seeing hope in it. I think that there's probably greater popularity or acceptance of the president abroad, and then of course, going back to the different movements to try to go against anything the president. And yes, Bitcoin is something separate than the current administration, but of course he seems to be the face of it because he's the one that proposed it. And if it's the success that we are all banking on, it will reflect well in the long term, I think, for him. So I think any dip once we go through this the initial stage, I think it would prove to be the right choice in my opinion. I think it is a bold move. I've always thought that as soon as I saw that the things were getting better in El Salvador, I saw an opportunity to go back and invest there. And many times I even tried to hire graphic designers in El Salvador, and they wouldn't accept PayPal. There was no PayPal as far as I knew. There was some trouble with making payment, and today I just sent $30 worth of Bitcoin to El Salvador from the money that I received from the president. Some people in my family were surprised. Where'd you get it? You're here. You've been here for decades. And like, well, I found an old ID. It worked. I don't want to use it here. I want it to be used in El Salvador. I want it to go to some merchant or some company. I want to start pumping that out there so it starts to get more momentum. So and it's not I'm not alone. I've seen many people abroad who don't want to. I mean, it would be nice to keep it in there and let it grow if possible, but I think it's better used if it's spent with merchants in El Salvador.
Yeah, I agree to that, especially because, I mean, what you said, that was important, the popularity abroad, because a lot of people or a lot of Salvadorian live abroad, especially in the US, and they send money to us, right? But they have to go through all these companies like MoneyGram, PayPal, or whatever to send the money. So now that they're using the Lightning Network, they will have to go through it. So I guess that in time, if people actually start using it, like, yeah, it's gonna get the popularity like levels higher, but then that's gonna happen when people start seeing the benefits of having Bitcoin as a method of payment, right? Even though locally, because I've been seeing, even for example, my mother or my family is really against cryptocurrency, even though I'm super bullish, which is kind of strange. But the thing is that, for example, because I was you guys know Banco Agricola? I was in a presentation with Banco Agricola yesterday of how is it gonna work, and they're essentially doing the same as McDonald's, right? They're just printing a Lightning invoice, and they transform it directly to USD. So I feel like in a way, a lot of people won't necessarily use it, and but that's also a good thing, right? Because it truly is optional. But I guess that the media and everything has gotten people confused on how that's gonna work. But they don't take into account that Bitcoin can be converted instantly into any other currency, pretty much, right? It's not like you have to go to like an exchange or whatever
Yep.
and change your.
Hey Miguel, I'm sorry to interrupt. Aaron, I need to go. I can continue to record if you wanna keep this thing going. I don't know, Joe, if you have any time constraints on your end, but I have to bounce personally.
I have to go as well, actually, or at least I need to take a break.
Okay.
So maybe it's better if we just
So
wind
yeah,
it down.
let's just close it out. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. Everyone who spoke, thank you so much for speaking. Follow everyone on stage: Bitcoin Beach, Juan, Aaron, Bitcoin Magazine, Marvin, Miguel. Thank you so much for coming on. You guys have brought an enormous amount of insight, and thank you to Alex Gladstein and several other folks who are listening who spoke. This is a great space. It's going to be recorded and posted as quickly as humanly possible, I promise. Go look up Bitcoin Spaces on your podcast app. That is where we're posting the recording, and it'll be posted in the next 2 days, I promise. So don't worry about that. It'll also be available on YouTube. But yeah, that's it from me. Go buy a conference ticket, b.tc/conference. Check out the deep dive. Check out bitcoinmagazine.com. All right, that's all the shills. Peace.